Well, good afternoon. It is a beautiful day in the Pacific Northwest, and I have a bit of a slow day here, or a slow afternoon, so I have a couple of hours, and one thing I need to do is make a soup. So I thought I'd make a video kind of leisurely and chit chat a bit. And thank you for joining me in my kitchen. It's kind of strange how fun it can be just to have like a group in the kitchen with you. For most of my adult life, one of my favorite things to do with my good friends, all sorts of occasions, was cooking together. And so I just have so many memories of looking over my shoulder, or actually blowing up a dish once, even, and stacking people. 12 people in my little studio apartment to eat Chinese food. And so, yeah, it's nice to have a little bit of time to reminisce as we are in deep winter. But honestly, here I wouldn't say we're in deep winter anymore. It actually feels more like a turn towards spring. I noticed the rhododendrons are starting to uh, bud, and I've been hearing frogs at night, and we didn't really get much fog, at least yet. We got frost this morning, but at least those are kind of the keys that we've turned over into springtime. So it has sure been lovely to see the blue sky and the sun. Can't remember the last time we did. Except for a brief moment in the Enumclaw donut hole. You might recognize the donut hole reference if you've watched this channel for a while, but if you are new to all my little isms and made up words for things, then the Enumclaw donut hole is the little spot, a little break in the clouds. And I remember flying into Seattle once before I lived here, and I could see one little spot of ground amidst all of the gray, puffy clouds, and it was, right as I was flying past Mount Rainier, and it was just the most magnificent beam of light, and it was shining down on Enumclaw. And it's funny, even when I step outside for any random little task, I often find myself lucky to see the sun or the moon peek through the clouds. But yes, I say bring on the spring. Okay, I must preface this with the disclaimer that this is not a recipe. I'm not following any kind of recipe. I'm just kind of free-flowing it. So going with kind of memory, but my goal is to ultimately be able to throw this together 15 minutes total, minus my jibber jabber. So what I have here is a nice heavy stock pot with about a tablespoon of olive oil. I have, it's 15 minutes because the beans are canned. And so I have rinsed and drained off the cannellini, pardon me, Great Northern beans this time. That's what we're looking at. And those will be nice and tender. Yep, I just have the mirepoix combination of carrots, celery, and onion. So I'm going to saute that with minced garlic, seasonings of salt, pepper, and some parsley. This is parsley that I dried this summer, and so it's been fun to dip into that. And also I know what I will do differently next time I dry parsley. I also took the liberty of preparing 6 cups of chicken broth to be the base for the soup. All right, and as I go too, I have made some garlic butter compound butter because I am truthfully trying to clear out my refrigerator a little bit, and because I'm moving, I'm trying to get it down to bare bones. That's why I'm using canned goods too, because I'm working quick. But I always keep some nice frozen rolls in the freezer for occasions just as this. So it's an occasion for some French dinner rolls, quick bean soup, and perhaps a chilly evening here. All right, so let's get started. You can certainly dice or slice your veg however you like. I actually am, part of the reason I'm preparing this soup is because I help a lovely lady in my community. And she's 82. She's incredible and living independently. And so the other day, she had started to make ham and bean soup, and she made the beans from scratch, and it was such an amazing smell. But she has difficulty like with sustained activity like that, standing, and so she went off to a different side quest and ended up not finishing the soup. But that gave me the idea that, oh, I love ham and bean soup. She loves ham and bean soup. I think Daisy, my daughter, will love ham and bean soup. So I'm making ham and bean soup, and I'm going to share. That has truly been, it has been truly been a wonderful experience, getting to know this lady much better, and her stories, and the reflections, and her quick wit, and oh my gosh, sense of humor. It does remind me, she reminds me very much of my own grandparents. She's born and raised in this whole area, but over so many years, she jokes how much territory she really has covered. She's a horsewoman, and so she she loves to share the memories of her rides, and you know where she's been, and even how it's changed since then. Because I was never a horsewoman, but definitely out in the yonder for a good part of almost 2 decades. So it's been neat to compare notes on places she's been and where I've been, and give her updates on what's changed, because certainly a lot has changed out there. This may sound silly too. You may notice I am not using big butcher's knife to chop here, and truth is, my hands hurt. I use them so much and they're tired, and I find that a little knife like this does what it needs to do. It simplifies, you know, because I've always let's see here, I've always used a big butcher's knife because it's nice and fast. And I've been watching a lot of ethnic cooking videos, lovely presentations, families, and see what they do. And I do notice too, especially the simpler that their kitchen is, sometimes it just comes down to a paring knife. I love the idea of that simplicity. As I said, I'm preparing to move. And so I do like to play a little game with like my food storage and my freezer and fridge to get it to the point where when I do move, I have a cooler's worth of frozen and fresh food to just lock and load, drop in the new fridge, into the new fridge, and then of course the canned goods in the backstock pantry, all the cooking goods and whatnot. But I found that I'm pretty good at doing that. I certainly should be after all these years. I didn't go with uniform pieces, and there's a reason for that. I just kind of felt like doing it differently. So let's go ahead and get started here. I'm going to pop this over medium high heat. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and saute this business, and then chop up the ham and add the broth or the beans, right? Mix the beans together and get all that flavor, and then add the broth and the seasonings, and then you're all but ready. I would say maybe simmer for 15 minutes. And over the years, I have made this quite a bit. That's why I'm kind of just freestyling it here. But the ham always kind of takes a different form. Ideally, I do like to get a ham steak and then trim it and then use those generous sized pieces of ham. But I wanted to use this bit of honey cured sliced ham. So I'm just going to use half of this, dice it up. I'm going to leave, I'm going to trim it. And then the other half is going to go into a breakfast quiche. So, one little ham roast done. It is funny too, I am very used to compact living. It shocks me to even think about the different places where I have lived in my lifetime, because I was a nomadic, and I would say nomadic, but I planted myself in a couple of different places for years. A lot of different reasons for it. A big part was I was exploring and working at the same time. So when opportunities arose, I would follow them, and But then also it wasn't all joyous, because it was actually it started after in the most recent Great Recession. So there is a big long story about that. It's getting to be a long time back there, but it changed the trajectory of my life. And but I'm not necessarily unhappy about that, because you wouldn't believe me if I told you where I've been and what I've seen and experienced, and it was all because I kind of had that real flexibility, and the times allowed for it. I remember going on to my favorite surf break out at Westport, or my local break, and I remember bobbing and being the absolute only person at the break on a beautiful, sunny, clear afternoon in August. It's like prime. It was flat surf, but I just wanted to float. But the fact that I could do that, and now, maybe 18 years later, it's pay parking, so you can only pay parking by permit only, and it is so jam-packed with people that you can't even legally park anywhere near it. You have to walk in from the main road. That's quite a distance, actually. So it's just amazing to see how things change. You know, and I am a mother, and I think of all these wonderful places I've been and, you know, and how it was just so accessible to travel. Like, I traveled to Europe, to Australia, to China, and Tibet. And I have, oh gosh, I do, of course, still have a wish list. So we'll see what the future holds. But I must say that, you know, that is kind of a days that have passed, I think. Days have passed. But I think being on the road, traveling, walking in the shoes of others, humbly, has been truly one of the most informative experiences of my life. And that includes college and many years in the workforce. I must say I'm quite grateful for the experience, though, because it was humbling to the most important degree. Because I grew up, you know, 80s, 90s, and, you know, the economy was quite prosperous, and a lot, you know, I grew up without the internet. I mean, I started using the internet in college, and let's see here. But these days, having been to a lot of these places, and then looking at pictures, and then seeing a straight up documentary, no matter how experienced the documentarian is, it paints such a beautiful picture that I really, what I miss is the people. I miss the people. I miss the smells of the food stalls or restaurants, or, you know, I miss the sounds of the birds and people speaking their language, you know. And I traveled a lot, but I've also lived in many places, and kind of went to an extreme and lived in New York City for a little bit, but enough to really appreciate it for what it is, and the resilience of the folks in New York has just always amazed me. Ooh, this one's strong onion. But I've also lived in Hawaii, and that experience, oh boy, you know, magical. That's all I can say. It's a very, very special place. And I have not been there since 2011. I know a lot has happened since I was there, like everything else. I know that Kilauea erupted again, and pardon me, the little caldera there has become active, and I actually have a beautiful picture on my wall from my last trip there. And it was I guess it's a caldera, but the pool above the caldera, it was from a distance, and it just looked like a smoking hole in the ground. But now that hole has filled with water a couple of times, strange colored water even, And then, yeah, ultimately erupted. Crazy. So many things happening right now, mind-blowing. And it is, I must say, it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming. And then trying to keep your bearings and your heart light in the middle of all of it. Oh my gosh. It is a true test to human spirit right now, and ingenuity, and it is also very much a time where exercising humbleness and curiosity, and it's really a character building time. And I am so much older, so I just have I'm pushing so much great Juchu and prayers to the younger generations and their wisdom that will ultimately come from these times. Okay. It's funny, in the background, I talk about being like overstimulated with all the changes, things going on in the news. I can't even touch on that right now. I ended up just turning on Little House on the Prairie reruns. And if you never watched this show, it was aired for a good long time in America. And I remember the theme song and this being on TV at dinner time. So that was always my cue. If I heard Little House on the Prairie, that meant, oh, dinner's probably getting there. And I'd make my way to the kitchen. So I thought, hey, give that a whirl. And it just so happened that one of my favorite episodes was on. What luck. It was the episode where the Ingalls family... Oh, wait, I forgot the garlic. The Ingalls family, they had experienced a hailstorm, and it destroyed their wheat crop right before they were harvesting. Right before. And so Charles, the husband, went to... Let's see. I'm going to add just a clove of garlic. Maybe 2. So, because the harvest was a loss, Charles went to find different work. Now again, with the garlic, you don't want to saute it for long. Just right at the end. Okay. And we'll add the ham. Boom. Love these cutting boards. Taking the small one. That goodness is stirred. This is my parsley. Yeah, if I'd do that differently next time. I kind of was just taking a crack at it to see what would happen. Pretty sure turned out nice. Okay. Now, since these actually are already cooked beans, I'm not going to stir, well, maybe I will. It'll add a thickness to it. I won't be so concerned with clear ham and bean soup here. Yeah, so back to Little House on the Prairie. Charles goes to town, gets a job in a mine as a powder monkey, which is, yeah, exactly what it sounds like, climbing in there and blowing things up to move things along the line in tunnels. Oh my gosh, brutal. But at home, his wife gathered all the ladies together from the village, and they went out into the fields and hand harvested this wheat. It was perfectly fine, and it was dry, but they needed to, do all those things, all the steps. And, the music is just so beautiful, and, this is just an amazing anthology of a time of not just American history, but human history. And, but it was a beautiful, juxtaposition of what they did and had to do during those times, living completely independently of anything. And survival meant taking good care of everything in your stewardship. It was founded on so much good and hard work and suffering that many don't know anymore unless they've heard stories. But honestly, people around the world are in that situation as we speak. But yeah, it was a juxtaposition of the mines that was available at the time. That was how you made money. And all the history and everything peppered in there is just so beautiful. And most of all, how this community, Walnut Grove, like a utopia of sorts, they band together through everything. Gosh, you start going, I think the season, I want to say it ran for 8 years on TV in the United States. But it was certainly around longer than I was born. I've been alive. Yeah, so it's also very nice to have something slow in the background, where the way the sounds lay out, you can hear the birds, you can hear them chopping wood one by one. It's just sensory wise, it is relaxing to just have that on in the background, and it's a good listener while you're doing other things around the house, or maybe not exercising. Probably need some good music for that. But yeah, give it a whirl if you are keen. It, in a lot of ways, it connects me to my ancestors. On my mother's side, come from pioneer ancestry, and then England, England and Denmark before that, and so to me it kind of lines up with some of the stories that I heard from my grandma, from sharing her stories of her grandparents. Well, she had one, but she had aunties, uncles, really large families back then. And I just kind of like that. Okay, so we have everything in. It's going to be a little mush to it with some things. So I'm just going to see if it would be just fine with just 4 cups. And it looks like it's going to be the right amount, I kind of like a little bit of a thicker. Not such a brothy person. Depends on what it is. It depends on what it is. But okay, so we've got that. Really salt and pepper. Something I'm trying to do these days too is I'm kind of trying new things, new combinations. Is I'm trying to actually taste it before serving it. I don't think I've ever done that. Ooh. Yep. All it needs is Scotch pepper. So let's go ahead and turn this up. Bring that broth back up to a boil. then we'll just simmer it, maybe 10 minutes. Just warm that meat up nicely. In the past with the meat, I've used trimmings from a nice ham roast, bone in. I've tried lunch meat even once when I was in college. I don't necessarily recommend that. It's not as super satisfying. I like the bite is good. By far my favorite is the ham steak. But yeah, this is a close second. All right. Oh yeah. I'm hungry too. That's going to be good. So, yeah, again, I'll get these French dinner rolls in the oven, and I have 15 minutes to go for a little walk before the sun goes down, I suppose. But thank you again for joining me, and take good care in this new year. Be good to each other.